I have no expectation of being credited in the Twisted Metal show, and I have no expectation of being credited and or paid in the God of War show. Would it be kind of fun? Sure. That'd be kind of fun to see my name on credits, but it's not like I'm going to get paid for it. It's not like it's going to bring me anything. But even if it would, this idea of a lot of people like, oh, creators' rights, and people are like, Jeffy, you should be getting paid. I'm like, well, first off, if they put me in the credits and they don't put Scott Campbell in the Twisted Metal credits, then I don't want to be in the fucking credits. And I don't think they would do it to slight Scott, but if they're like, well, there's only room for one. No, there's not. Fuck you. But if the answer comes back, Jeffy, there's only room for one person, then I don't give a fuck. Don't put me in there. And I'm not saying you have to put the entire team in there, but if you want to say based on the video game created by, Incog Studio and David Jaffe and not include Scott's name, I think that's pretty shitty. But I don't expect it because, my lawyer told me ages ago, and it's always stuck with me. He says in any industry, but certainly entertainment, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you can negotiate. They got my work and I got their money and I got their insurance and I got their bonuses and I got a lot out of the relationship with Sony, which was the only thing that was ever promised. The idea now that I'm supposed to go back and go, hey, you guys are making a lot more money off this. Where's mine? It's like, you got yours. That was the deal. That was the fucking deal. I am a fan of video game unions if there's a way to actually make them work. So far, I haven't heard of it. But short of that, I do not agree with what I'm reading here from Bruce. And even, look, Neil worked on the show, right? Neil directed one of the episodes. Neil was a co-showrunner. Neil, of course he's in the credits. I don't know who these 7 other people are. Now, I will tell you this, that when I saw the article being fleshed out about Amazon making the God of War TV show, and I know it's going to be more of mostly all of the Norse story, I didn't expect to be credited. Again, it's nice, but who gives a shit? I don't have Hollywood envy. I don't be like, look, my name's on the TV screen. I don't give a fuck. But I did see a couple of names that are going to be getting executive producer credits. And I'm like, well, I hope they actually do something on the show. Because without them, there may not be 1 or 2 of the games, but without me, there ain't no goddamn series. And just because they still happen to work at Sony, that's a little petty. That it's like, okay, you're going to get the credit because you're still a Sony employee. What the fuck are you talking about? Now, to be fair, the last thing I'll say on this is Neil Druckmann doesn't work for Sony anymore, from what I understand. He has a contract like Mark Cerny does. So he has his own representation, his own agent. He is probably seeing if there's profit, and however they calculate that, he will probably see money off the Last of Us TV show. Unless Corey has the same kind of deal, which I don't think he does. I think he is still a Sony employee. I don't imagine, it's possible, but I don't imagine he will be able to collect money. Or if he will, it will be a separate negotiation, separate from his actual Sony video game contract with Santa Monica. So, I think with Neil, it makes more sense because, whatever reason, he had the ability to negotiate a deal that let him still be a VP of Naughty Dog, but not be a Sony employee. And he was able to negotiate all this shit. What about Bruce Straley, says Eddie T. He was the heart and soul of The Last of Us. What about him? Who cares? I don't mean that emotionally. If you're talking emotionally, yeah, it kind of sucks. But he directed it, and I'm assuming, if he was the heart and soul, I assume he got paid from Sony, and that was the deal. Luca, who is actually a director himself, says he didn't direct the show. Yes, he did. He directed the 2nd episode. If a movie franchise changes a director for a sequel, the director of the previous one is not credited. Sure, but he did direct the show. If you're talking about Neil, if you're talking about Bruce, no, he absolutely did not. He absolutely did not. And he didn't write it either. Eric says Neil Druckmann doesn't work for Sony. What do you mean he isn't the VP of Naughty Dog? What I mean is he does have a contract with Sony, from my understanding, but he is not a Sony employee that collects a Sony paycheck that says, here's your work ID number and we'll pay your taxes, and not pay your taxes, but we'll put money in your 401k and we'll make sure that we take out these taxes and all that stuff. No, my understanding is he does not have that kind of work relationship. The work is the same, I think, but the actual employment relationship is different. Bacon, speaking of Bacon, is saying, well, hey, man, I don't believe you about the Neil Druckmann employment thing. Well, I don't care. But what I can tell you is I learned, I don't know, maybe it was Gene Park or maybe it was Michael Pachter. It was one of those guys who is in the know, and we were having a conversation about this, that, or the other, and Neil came up and the credits came up, and he explained to me, oh, Druckmann has a Cerny deal now. Now, I don't have evidence of that other than I trust these people when they talk to me. Oh, it was Dustin from Last Media Standing. There you go. Okay. And I trust Dustin.